Michelle Betts from the Bet Stamper YouTube channel, and I just posted a video of unboxing my newest products that I got during celebration. I also am a Stampin' Up demonstrator. In the last video, I gave information about how you can order some of the items that I'm going to be using in the video today. I also mentioned that I was going to be making a card because I have a bad habit of getting new stuff and putting it away, organizing it, and never using it again. So today we're going to be making some quick cards, and I'll show you some of my favorite ways to choose things to make a card. So I hope you enjoy this video and then go make some cards. This might be a low budget way of showing you how I do this, but the first thing I wanted to do is show you how I choose a template to make my card. And the first thing I do is go to Crafty Owl's YouTube channel, and I love to watch her Sheetload of Card template videos. She also has other people that make cards with her templates that you can watch every month. She releases a new template on the first of every month, so I'll go and watch her playlist and her videos. And in the last 24 videos are free for her subscribers. So all you have to do is subscribe to her channel, and any of her last 24 templates you can watch her videos, and in the video she shows you how to download them. If you want any of her older templates before the last 24, she started in 2019, you can become a channel member. And I believe the first level channel member, you can have access to all the previous archive Sheetload templates that are in the vault. And another thing that you can do so you can get a good look at the different Sheetloads is go to her Facebook group and join that. So if you go to her Facebook page and go to media, then click on albums, you can see a little thumbnail of all the different Sheetloads. I like to go here since I've watched all her videos and I pretty much know all the different templates by heart. I like to go and see which templates need a 6x6 paper or a 12x12 paper and how many cards each one makes. And I found this one that I liked was May 2021, and you can just see a picture of the first page of instructions and what the template looks like. Then you can watch her video and she'll show you how to download that, and then you can print it. Another thing that I forgot to tell you is that on that Facebook page you can scroll down inside each album and see cards that different people have made and get some inspiration and just see how different the Sheetload can look with a different color scheme and a different theme, and that's really fun to look at. So when you print out the sheet, you can print the front gives you the dimensions if you just want to make one card. It shows you what the supplies are that you need. It also says if you need a 12x12 or 6x6 paper to use. And then she gives some alternative ways that you can use her Sheetload. So this is just a jumping off point. You can change the orientation, and if it's a landscape card, you can make it portrait. You can add embellishments or die cuts. You can do all kinds of things to change it up. Then on the back, it gives the cutting instructions for making the Sheetload. And the reason that I chose this one today is because all you need is one 6x6 sheet of paper, and you can make 3 cards if your paper is double-sided. If it's not double-sided, you would need 2 6x6 papers and you would make 6 cards. So I chose from this Toadstool Gardens that you can get for free if you order $60 or more from Stampin' Up by the end of February. I chose this sheet of paper. And again, since it's double-sided, I'm going to make 3 cards from this sheet of paper. Now, another thing that I like to do, I love to buy new Stampin' Up products because I am a Stampin' Up demonstrator. So I really love the punch that goes with the Toadstool, terrific Toadstool stamp set. But if you're like me, if you've been doing crafting for a long time, you have a collection of stuff that you haven't seen in a long time and haven't used in a long time. So I like to pull those things out. When I see this, I remember, oh, I have an old stamp set from, doesn't have the date on it, that's called Funky 4. And it has this cute little row of mushrooms in there that I think if I need to, I can incorporate that. And look how cute that looks together. So I'm going to pull that out and set it aside. And on this sheet of paper, I noticed this cute little snail. So I remember that I have a stamp set called Bugs and Kisses that has, guess what? A cute little snail. So I'm going to pull this stamp set out and use it to go with that little snail. And also, there's a ladybug. And on here, there's a ladybug. So I can use either one of those. Then if I use that paper and I have those bugs on there, I can even use any of these sentiments from this old stamp set. Now, I have this stamp set also called Garden Whimsy, and it has a cute little snail and 2 little butterflies. So it's possible I could use these. I don't know if I will. I think I might like the other ones better, but I'm going to pull it out just in case. Another thing that I had from not as long ago is another paper pack called Rings of Love. And I remembered from Rings of Love, there was some real cute paper in here, and one of them had, guess what on it? Mushrooms. So I thought I could use this mushroom paper, not today, but I could use this mushroom paper with this. Look how cute. You got this little grouping of 3 mushrooms here. I could use these colors, and you would never know that this paper and this stamp set didn't go together. So always go through what you have and pull out some things that you haven't used in a while. And a lot of times people say, go through your stuff, and if you haven't used it in a while, get rid of it. I say, go through your stuff, and if you haven't used it in a while, go ahead and use it. I often show how I do my cards and making them, but I just wanted to show you how simple it is when you get some new products and you want to do something really quick. Once you find a sheet load and you follow her instructions, they're really easy to make. So all you have to do is take this one sheet and cut it according to her instructions. And then in about 15 seconds, you will have all your paper cut, in this case, to make 3 cards. Now, like I said, she has some different templates that may be more complicated than this, but I wanted to do something quick and show you how easy it can be. So now I have all my paper and everything cut to make the cards. Now I can use the big sheet, the big piece on all 3 of them, and then turn the little piece over, or I can mix and match. So because this piece is so cute, I'll probably use the bigger piece on all 3 of them, and then the back on the smaller piece. Just for a minute, I will show you that under my desk, I have this accordion file full of different colors of paper scraps. They're somewhat organized, but it's a pretty big space taker-upper. So I like to go through my scraps and pull out anything that might match what I'm working on. And I went through a few nights ago and found some colors that will match the cards I'm making today. In that stack, I found some orange card bases that were already cut to the right size and scored. And then I found some other orange that could be cut down to make the mats for the papers that I've already cut. So I went ahead and cut those. And that way I can just adhere the paper to the mats. And I already did that work ahead of time. Then I went through and looked at all the different colors in my paper, and went through all my scraps and found some that I thought would coordinate. I'm only making 3, but potentially I'm gonna make more, because my theory is if you pull out all the stuff to make 1 or 2 cards, you can make 10 or 20. This paper already has some texture to it. The rest of it is just smooth and flat. So I went ahead and cut card bases for all of these. Then I can decide which ones I want to use. And, you know, the thing about it is that some of these, they really are scraps. Look, this one has holes in it. Now, I don't know if I will use this one or not. It depends on what's going to be covered up, and nobody will know. If not, I'll cut it down and use it for some scraps in another project. But it's there in case I need it. First card, since I already had quite a bit of orange, the card base and the 2 mats are orange, and then I had quite a bit of pink, with this having pink as the main color, I decided not to use pink, and that leaves me with purple, green, this brighter green, or this darker green. So as I look at this, I just look and think, well, they both would look pretty good, but maybe this darker green will help tone down some of that orange. So I decided to choose that next. And since this already has a little bit of texture to it, I didn't feel like I needed to do any stamping in the background or dry or heat embossing. And we can just go ahead and put our card together. And it won't take very long to put all these together. After you go through your scraps and use them, then I don't know about you, but I'm trying to downsize scraps and use them more. And once I get my stash down, it'll be easier to control how many scraps I have if I just use what I have. Then I'll go ahead and put the bigger piece on the mat. I think I'll wait before I put it on the card itself. All right, and then the last one. I'll put that one on. And it doesn't really matter. You can actually do it either way you want to, but I always like to check my template and see how she designed it to be. And if you print the instructions full size, you can actually put the card on here, and it's the right size. And that way you can put your sentiments on, you can put your different elements on and make sure, see how it's going to look. So I'm going to put this on here, and this one goes over here and covers it like that. Now, if you want to, you could scooch it over and do it on this side, whichever one you think looks good to you. Now, I have forgotten one element, which is where the sentiment paper is. So the next thing I'm going to do is go through my scraps and see what I want to use, what pieces I have that are this side. A ton of white scraps, and I thought white would look nice, but with this light green background here, I thought off-white would look good as well. So I found this tan. Thought that might look nice. And then I've got also a ton of ivory scraps. So what I like to do is make my cards different from each other. I might use ivory for some of them. I might use a lighter tan for some of them. What I'll do is go through my tan scraps and find pieces that I think are big enough or small enough to cut down and use up some of these. So I'll do that. Crafty Al gives the dimensions for the little sentiment strip, but again, because you can print this full size and it will show how big the sentiment is going to be, you can test your sentiment against it to see if it will fit. And I wanted to use the popping up to stay high, and I wanted to use the popping up to say hi, and it's a little bit bigger than that. So that means I'm going to make my sentiment paper a little bit bigger than what's suggested. And it'll still look really nice with this strip being longer. I'm just going to have to widen it a little bit. The scraps that I found were this ivory color, so I just pulled those out. and I'm going to cut them down to the size I need to make the sentiment piece. So I also found this tan that I wanted to try and see how I liked it. Now she suggested that you round the corners here and then make a wide and kind of shallow fishtail there. So I think I like that, and I'm going to try it out. Now, I don't know if you're like me, but I have all kinds of different corner rounders. You may not have the same one I have, so just pull out what you have. If you have one of these envelope makers, it has a punch on the back that will round your corners. So you could use this to round the corners, and that makes a nice one. This tan one, I used this little corner rounder punch that I had. That works well. You might even have something like this. One of these old scissors. I had this, and it actually makes 4 different corner designs, and I like this one the best, where it actually has a cute little notch piece like that, if you want to do a little fancy corner rounder. So whatever you want to do, however works with what the materials are that you have, you can round your corners, and then we'll do our little fishtail at the bottom after we stamp. After you have your piece cut out and the corners rounded however you want them to be, and you're ready to stamp, you don't want to start yet, because as I told you, this stamp set is brand new, and these clear acrylic photopolymer stamps have some oils and chemicals on the stamp itself that when you use it for the first time, doesn't always make a clear impression, and the ink can kind of pool up and bubble and make bubbles and circles and designs you don't want on your stamp. So the best thing to do, and the easiest thing, is if you have a Versamark watermark stamp pad like this, you can, what they call, condition these by, it helps to remove those chemicals and make it ready to stamp. Now I used to just condition each stamp as I used it one at a time, and then I would have stamp sets that some stamps had never been used and they hadn't been conditioned, and some of them had, and I never knew which ones were which. So a few weeks ago, I just decided that when I get a new stamp set, I'm just going to take this cellophane is a little thinner than the thicker piece. So pull off the thinner piece, and then you can just go ahead and stamp the Versamark on all of your stamps at one time, and then place it on just a sheet of scratch paper to kind of stamp it. Then maybe do it again. I think I've started doing mine twice, and that seems to help. It seems to do a good enough job. And then you can put your clear sheet back over it to protect it in the case. But that way all of them are ready to go when you're ready to use them. For this card, for the sentiment, I'm going to use the Poppin' Up to Say Hi stamp, and I'm going to use the Granny Apple Green. In case you don't know, on the label for your paper, it always gives a list of what colors Stampin' Up used. And if you don't have one of those, you can always find something that would coordinate. And I have found that just using black ink looks really nice and goes well with any color. So let's get this one ready to go. I think I had said earlier popping by to say hi, but it's popping up like a mushroom does after a rain. So you don't have to press down really hard on these, but you want to kind of look through and make sure it's inked up well. And I'm going to kind of place my piece over this to make sure I stamp it where I want it to be and it doesn't go too low. Center it and press down. Hold it to make sure the ink soaks into the paper real well, but don't rock it and don't press too hard because it can distort the image and make it look blurry. When you think it's good, go ahead and lift it up, and it's always fun to see how well it does. Okay? If you want to do the little fishtail at the bottom to make it kind of look like a ribbon, you can just grab a pair of paper snips and measure I like to, I don't know if you can see, okay. I like to kind of center it so that there's a line right in the middle, and then I'll just cut a little snip right up the middle, like that. And then I'll cut from the corners to the top of that little cut. And it usually looks pretty centered doing it freehand this way. If you have a punch, obviously you can use a punch. I don't, because I feel like this does pretty well, and I'd rather use my money for something else. So there's our sentiment. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the bigger piece on the card, and then I'll show you how I put the sentiment paper on. Okay, I'm going to make sure it's even on 3 sides, and then place it down. Now, since the sentiment strip is going to kind of straddle these 2 layers, I don't want it to, you know, get a wrinkle in the middle. So what I'll do is I have a piece of scrap that's got like some crinkles on it, and I'm not going to be able to use it for anything, but I don't want to waste it. So I'm just going to cut a little piece like this and use it kind of like foam tape or pop dots, but I'm not going to raise it a lot. I'm just going to raise it a little bit. I learned this tip from another YouTube channel, and I'm trying to remember her name, so as soon as I remember it, I will tell you. She always uses her scrap paper for, she calls it fake foam adhesive. I really enjoy watching her channel. Sometimes you watch so many different people, you get so many different ideas from them, it's hard to remember where you learned it. I just know it was a really good idea. So I'm going to center this and place that down, and now it's more level because of that piece underneath. Then I can take my strip here and put it on the card. There we go. And in a few minutes, we'll come back and add some embellishments, and I'll show you what we're going to do with our mushrooms. I remembered the YouTube channel where I got the idea to use the scrap card to prop up one side of the part that is hanging over, and it's Jess Crafts. So Jess from Jess Crafts had that idea. And then I forgot to mention that one YouTube channel that had the idea of using your old scissors that you probably still have laying around is the Posh Paper Lady. So she has a lot of really good ideas too that I like to use to make my mushroom. And when you have these kinds of stamps, kinds of punches that have multiple punch outs, it's hard to know where to stamp it to make sure you have it all lined up, and you don't want to waste. So what I like to do is, I've got some paper here that got messed up and I can't use it for anything. So I'm just going to cut a piece out and use it to make a template or a jig so that I know where to place my stamps on the block, so that I can stamp all the pieces together and then cut them out all together. So I'm going to use both of the larger mushroom heads and the stem that goes with it. Okay, but the first thing I'm going to do is punch all 3 pieces out of this scrap paper, basically. And this is a little bit thicker card, so I think it's like maybe a 110 and a 300 GSM, so you know it's pretty sturdy. Okay. All right, then I'm going to take the paper that I'm actually going to stamp on, which again, I've gone through and found some scrap white paper that I want to stamp on. I don't want the, if I use cream color, I don't want that to distort the colors that I'm stamping with. So I want to make sure that I use white. All right, so I'm going to put my jig on here, and then I'm going to take my stamps that I'm going to use and just put them right in the middle of those holes that I punched, so that they're lined up with the holes of the punch. I'll wiggle it around a little bit there and let it get seated in that place. And then this is the stem for it. And it goes right there. All right, still brand new, so it's a little sticky on this side. So I need to hold that down. Okay, so I have those lined up. And now I can just take my larger stamp block and put them all on there together. Okay, now you can do several things to color these before you stamp them. You can get some Stampin' Right markers and color on them. You don't want to use alcohol markers, because alcohol markers will color on them and it'll dry out before you have a chance to stamp with it, most likely. So you can use your markers and color. This will stay wet long enough for you to stamp with it. And you can also huff on it a little bit before you stamp. I'm going to use pink. I think I'm going to use orange. And then I'm going to use the tan for the stem. I think on this card I'm just going to use one mushroom, but I wanted to try them both out, see which one I like the best. And I can always use the other one for another card. Also, I've been making bookmarks. My husband has requested, with all this paper crafting I do, that I can make him some bookmarks. So any extra scraps or embellishments I'm going to start using to make bookmarks. And I think I'm going to use this lighter tan to color the stem of the mushroom. So once you get all that colored, then you can just kind of huff on it a little bit and stamp it on your white paper. Now you know everything is lined up with your punch the way it needs to be. And of course you saw me, I haven't moved. Oh, there it is. I always set something down and then I haven't moved and then I can't find where it is. Okay, now I did this a little bit backwards, so I'm going to need to cut off a little piece of that. I just stamped it on the wrong end, and that's okay. That happens. So I'll just cut this piece off, and now it'll fit in there. So this stamp set and punch, when you use them, they don't have a white border around it. So you're not gonna, if you see a white border around the edge, you know it's not lined up right. And I think that stem didn't get lined up just right, so I'm not gonna worry about it right now. I'll show you a little trick for that. I'm just gonna make sure that the mushroom tops are lined up and ready to go. Okay. So here are my mushroom tops, and then my stem, it's only halfway colored, because as you can see, the holes are a little bit smaller, and I needed to line that up a little bit better. Maybe it moved, I don't know. But all I have to do is get my marker and color the rest of that stem in. Just use the side of it. It doesn't have to be perfect or solid. Those little brush strokes will make it look more natural. Okay. Now I'm going to find how I want to place my mushroom and which will look the best. I like the orange because it contrasts that pink strip down there. So I think I'm probably going to use that, and it won't cover up my sentiment if I put it on there just right. So I think I'm going to use that. And I have some liquid glue that I'm going to put my mushroom stem down, but I'm only going to do it about halfway because I want to be able to put the mushroom cap underneath that. And my mushroom cap, I want to use some foam adhesive. So I'm just going to use a little piece of this strip. I have another pair of scissors that I use for sticky stuff because I don't like having to clean them too often. All right, It's a little too big, so I'm just going to cut it in half and use both pieces maybe. Yeah, I'll just trim off the little corners that are peeking out. Okay, just going to bring it down below the word poppin'. There we go. And there's our card. Now all we need probably is some, I like to add a little ribbon somewhere sometimes, and some rhinestones or some type of embellishments. We'll see what we can find. The last thing I'm going to do is embellish the card, and I have these sequins and pearls. This is a mix that I got from Stampin' Up's clearance rack a couple of years ago. It had these green ones, some pink ones, and blue ones. So I'm going to grab a few of those to add some sparkle to the card. I like to put a little glue and then use my take your pick tool to add some to that. That one had one stuck to it. These are kind of like glitter. They get everywhere. Okay, let me do another one. Here. And I'll do some sequins. Maybe on this pink, the green will be a nice contrast. I like the little hexagons. I'll do another one here. Oh, here's one here's the green one I was looking for. It's clear. I like that one. And the last thing is, if I can, I like to put ribbon on a card. And I have this old ribbon from Stampin' Up called Wild Wasabi. And always make sure that I tie the bow in the ribbon before I cut it off. That way, if I mess it up, I can undo it and haven't wasted the ribbon. It's hard to tie after you've cut it and it's a smaller piece. I always like the double stitch ribbon from Stampin' Up. And I don't know about you, but I have my scissors that I use just for cutting ribbon so that I know that it's going to cut well. And then a little glue dot. And put it right there under the saying. And there we go. Popping up to say hi. I went through the paper pack and found 2 more sheets that I liked. So I took these 2 and made 3 more cards each. I also went through my scraps and found enough to make 9 cards. So here's the one that I made during the video, and then I'll show you the rest of the ones that I made using the papers and scraps that I picked out. Each one of them is a little bit different. This one is the only one where I used a purple card base. The ones that didn't have the textured paper, I used that stamp with 4 mushrooms on it to create a background stamp look. And I did another one like that. I also mixed and matched the paper that was on the back of each one and tried not to have any card that was exactly like another card. I enjoyed using the punch to make the little mushrooms. On the ones where you could see a snail and a ladybug on the background paper, I went ahead and stamped and cut out a ladybug and snail to go with that. And then I put sequins on the front of each one. I did about 5, and I wanted to show you that I decided to cover up the word hi, so it just says popping up to say, and on the inside it says happy birthday, so it'll read popping up to say happy birthday. I had enough just hello cards. I needed some new birthday ones, so that's why I chose to do that. Like this project, and I hope it inspires you to maybe buy something new, go through your stash and find something that goes with it, and make some cards. Thank you for watching. Bye.